Travel days? We don't need no stinking travel days. What's good, everybody? Welcome into Early Edge Live in your NFL Week 3 mega preview, where we tackle every single game on the board, give you our early leans, any numbers that we think you need to jump on right now before they move throughout the week. Oh, and if you followed my guys this past weekend, you were cashing Sunday, then Monday night, last night. What an incredible group of plays that all my guys had, and we absolutely killed it. Props, sides, the over, the spread, we nailed it all. But as always, what does the maestro say? On to the next, on to the next. So let's bring in my superstars of the show. And as always, we're rolling 5 deep today. Look at these incredible faces. RJ, you just had a very pedestrian 75% winners last week?
Something like that. It was a good week. You know, week 2 overreaction week is one of my favorite weeks because you spot some lines like that Bears line with the Bengals and the Saints line that you just know are overreactions you can fade. So now we're getting into the grit and the nitty gritty of it. You know, those lines are sharpening up here, and week 3 on is where we're getting to the meat of the season.
I was just outside of Chicago in Hammond, Indiana, and when the Bengals scored twice in 90 seconds to cut it to 3, that entire sports book, you could just feel them pucker. Oh, no. But, of course, Justin Fields being Justin Fields. AB, how were you in college football this week, my friend?
Oh, fantastic, Coach. And I'll say this. Look, the 2 most frightening things at Sportsline are when Coach is coming at you for doing a terrible impersonation and being on the opposite side of RJ White. So just so everyone knows that. But now we're doing fantastic. It's good to have you back in the seat, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I love being on the road because right now we're just all rolling together. If I roll to Chicago, we all roll to Chicago. In 2 weeks, we'll be in Atlantic City. You know who won't be in Atlantic City? The lady killer, Matty Severance. But he's here on the show today. What's up, Matty?
Good news. I might not be on here very long because it's storming pretty bad here. So if you hear that, I'm not bowling or anything.
Well, I was in your town of Chicago. So do you know who was asking about you in Chicago, Matty?
El McPherson.
No. Nobody was asking about you in Chicago. El McPherson, 1995 called. Hey, M Squared. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Coach. Tuesday's a busy day. Just finished up the FFT DFS podcast, but it's been good. Been sweating tennis this morning. Got a nice winner from the early edge, plus 140 over on the 2.5 sets. So life is good. Can't complain. This is my favorite show of the week. Let's do it.
Fantastic. Let's do it. By the way, did you mention fantasy football today? The same show that I nailed the exact score of Monday Night Football yesterday on 35-17. Is it that show, Mikey? That's
the one.
Oh, that's the one. Oh, my goodness. It feels so good. We love it, and we do it for you. So let's jump right in because we got a lot to get to. We get to every single game of the week. Now, let's start by saying this, a little housekeeping. Pound that like button. You know by now we change lives. Everybody that's watching the show live, hit the like button. After we get to 100, we'll give away a year-long sub to Sportsline. It helps our algorithm. It helps our show grow, and we're exploding. So do your part. All right, now, M Squared, you've been very, very busy today, but you just got me your plays for the week that you like here on a Tuesday. So for, I think, the very first time on Early Edge Live in the afternoon, I'm about to deliver. You know the drill, son! Give it to me.
All right, Coach, we'll just give you the 3 that I've locked in so far. It's going to be Packers plus 3.5. I actually liked a lot of what I saw last night, despite some obvious overthrows by Aaron Rodgers and not quite looking super sharp early. I think that they're the better team here, and I think that this line is pretty generous towards them here at 3.5. I think it should only be -1, or +1 for them, -1 on the other side. So I like this one quite a bit for them. I think Rodgers tightens up, and I think all things go for that team. And then the Seattle Seahawks, tough loss to Tennessee there. I think that they're the much better team. We talked about it a little bit here, a little bit on the DFS podcast. I like some of the changes that they made in the offseason, especially with how they're running the offense. DK Metcalf up to 30% market share. I think he's going to have a massive game in this game here. I think they're simply the better team. I want them to come out hungry here at -2. I think it's an absolute gift. I'll have them there, and I'll have them in some teasers this week. And then my last one, Tampa Bay Buccaneers -1. I think just too much respect for the LA team, not much home field advantage. So give me the Bucs here -1.
Yeah, Tom Brady said that there's a lot more that the Bucs haven't shown yet after the first 2 weeks, 9 touchdowns, and absolutely looking dominant once again. Did you have something else you need to say, Mike? Did I interrupt you?
Nope.
Okay, you're good. All right, very good. All right, moving on. Whenever he goes 75%, he goes, yeah, it was kind of a good week. Yeah, I just hit I hit all my props. That's just who the number one NFL handicapper Sportsline is all about. RJ White, the floor is yours.
Love Mike's plays there. I'm on 2 of them as well. I got the Packers. I do worry about that offensive line going against that talented San Francisco front. But when you got Aaron Rodgers and you're getting points, I mean, he's always live to cover a number there, especially if it's over a field goal. Love the Seahawks there too. Minnesota, 2 gut punch losses in a row. I mean, what are you going to do mentally this week to prepare for that game? So I like Seattle in that one. And then I also do like the Bucs. I didn't put him in as a play. That line opened as Rams the favorite, which was ridiculous. My power ratings had Tampa up -1.5. And I know Mike was on Tampa as a favorite there. Obviously, he has him at -1. Might get that play in later in the week. I don't think there's any rush because I don't think that's storming up. But my other 2 plays that I wanted to get in early, Bengals +4.5. It's already dropped to 3.5. Ben Roethlisberger's banged up. Deontay Johnson, we knew, got injured at the last play of that game. TJ Watt, who knows if he's playing. Bengals have been very competitive so far this season. So even with some of those guys healthy, I don't know if I'm putting it at 4.5. I think that was a little high. I would even take it at 3.5. I think you're still good there if that's the number you're getting right now. And then I also like the Panthers -7.5 on Thursday night. Davis Mills starting. He's not ready for this. You typically can get a pretty good value playing these quarterbacks in their first start. I cited the number before the season that ATS, these quarterbacks making their first career start have actually been really good over the last 2 years. I just don't think he's ready despite that touchdown last week. So I think that line's going up by Thursday. So we got to get it in now. So I jumped on it at 7.5.
Get it in right now. Panthers, Bengals, Packers, and the Seahawks. By the way, continue pounding that like button. I forgot to tell you, put in your best bet. We kind of want to know what games you're on, what bets you're looking at, because we have several more shows coming up later in the week, and we like to address the things that you want. Also, keep the questions coming. This show is completely interactive. We'll get to as many questions as we possibly can in the time allotted. Also, leave your Twitter handle so we can get a hold of you if you win that year-long sub. All right, Maddie Severance, the lady killer. I know you've got a couple of plays for me. What do you got?
Yeah, I didn't trust giving Sam Darnold -7.5 on the road. It's their first road game. I mean, they probably will win because, like I'm saying, Davis Mills, he's not ready. I just took the under. It's already dropped to 43.5. I got it at 44 for Thursday's game. Is Houston going to score more than 10, 13 points against the number 1 defense? Doubtful. Is Carolina going to score more than 30? Doubtful. So I didn't love the spread, so that's why I took the total there. And I'm on the Titans just because there's no freaking way Carson Wentz is playing. Both sprained ankles, even if he does play, he's not going to be mobile at all. So I think Tennessee saved their season last week. I think the Colts are going down the tubes. So I like the Titans to win by touchdown this Sunday.
How was his ankle not either broken, dislocated? That was one of the nastiest twists I've ever seen to just be a sprain. And by the way, Maddie, you watch this show, right? Occasionally, you watch the show, right?
Well, that or porn depends.
You know how much I hate unders. I mean, AB is on a lifeline right now on this show because he gives out so many unders. And you walk out in our mega week 3 preview and you give me your first play as an under just because you're so good at it. That's why I'm going to let you stay on the show. All right. Now, we know whenever you're in the anchor position on this show, it's usually the maestro. So when you step into his seat, it's serious business. AB, talk to me.
Hey, no pressure, no diamonds, Coach. Look, I'm going to start. I've got 2 plays. I'm going to go with the Titans -5. I agree with Severance here. You look at Carson Wentz. I don't know how a man, messes up both of his ankles unless he falls off a roof. So I don't trust Carson Wentz here whatsoever. Now, look. The Titans have their own problems on the offensive line. Taylor Lewan, Roger Saffold, there are some issues there. However, this plays exactly into the Titans' offense and what they need to get some confidence. We haven't seen Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, and A.J. Brown even begin to open this offense up. So what they'll do to alleviate those O-line issues is go to a quick strike offense, which will actually, in turn, build up more confidence with that offense, and they will continue to score. And think about this. There is nobody in the world that the Titans at home would love to beat up on than the Colts with an angry crowd who hates the Colts, and head coach Mike Vrabel, who's not really a Colts fan either. Second one, Browns -7. You're catching them at a great time here. They got the hangover game out of the way last week against the Texans. They're at home against the Bears. Justin Fields probably going to start that game. And you know what? He can't get out and run against this defense. It's too fast, too good. He's going to have to beat him in the pocket. Not going to happen.
I cannot wait to get your thoughts later on when we get into the Titans game on how much you think the way they won in Seattle will help them moving forward, and we'll get your take on that in just a second. Johnny, I want to throw up the weekly schedule so everybody understands where we're going to be at all week long. Follow us right here to our YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications so every time we have new content, it drops right into your feed. As always, we do this show at 5 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, AB and the boys, full week 4 college preview, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Then Thursday, me and the guys are back 7 p.m. Eastern, counting down to Thursday Night Football, Panthers and the Texans. Then Friday, RJ, Alex, oh man, the prop stars. He was 10-1. 10-1 on his props last week. He's already called me. He says, Coach, can I come on Thursday? I said, just easy, big fella. Easy, big fella. All right, then on Sunday, we've got 3 shows, the morning show, the noon show, the 7 show. That is our schedule. And we can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your busy schedule to follow and tail with us and have a good time doing it. All right, let's jump into our first game. And RJ, you're on this game. So I'm going to start with you, my friend, the Panthers, giving 7.5 on the road. That hook is just kind of dangling out there. The total is 43.5. Why do you like the Panthers so much?
They put that hook out there thinking that people are going to be scared off because of it, because it's the Panthers. You know, why are you going to lay this many with them on the road? But Mills, I just don't think is very good. And Carolina has had the number 1 D so far this year. He gave up just 128 yards and 6 first downs against New Orleans. That people say, oh, the New Orleans offense, maybe they're not as good as we think. You do that against anybody. That's notable stuff there. I think Carolina covers in this game with a -7.5. I think it's going to go up, so you want to get them early. But if you are worried about that big number on the road, like if you're like Matt and you don't want to trust Sam Darnold, although you're not trusting Sam Darnold, you're trusting Christian McCaffrey in this defense at this point. He's not going to have to do much in this game. But if you're worried, I like playing the under Houston team total at 17.5. They're not sniffing 17. I like going under on 14.5 on the alt line for plus 155. I just don't think Houston scores many points with the way this Panthers defense is playing to start the season.
Yeah, I'll say this to just go along with what RJ's saying. The Texans have played out of their minds in weeks 1 and week 2. Give them credit for a team that we didn't think was going to be any good at all. That is going to change, and it's going to change in a hurry. This is the week to do it. I think RJ's spot on.
This is the largest spread Darnold's ever been a favorite, so that's something interesting. But who did David Tepper get? I don't know. How did he get to face Panthers owner? Zach Wilson, Jameis Winston, and now Davis Mills? I mean, who's he got incriminating photos on?
Isn't it amazing how the chips have fallen, and Carolina looks like the sweetheart team so far as the schedule and the quarterbacks are concerned? It's amazing. You're right, Maddie. I'm actually shocked that you knew all 3 of those quarterbacks in a row, that you were paying attention. All right, moving on. Washington, the football team, on the road in Buffalo. Now, the Bills, we really don't know which Bills team we're going to get. Is it going to be the week 1 Bills that laid an egg, scored only 16 points against Pittsburgh, losing, and that same Pittsburgh team looked awful against the Raiders in week 2? Or will it be the team that won 35-0, a whitewashing of the Miami Dolphins? So the Bills at home are laying 8.5. The total is 45.5. AB, let's start with you.
Yeah, these are a lot of points here for the Bills, even though they are at home. But I'll say this. You're going to have Buffalo offense and defense competing against each other to who can have the better game, because this team really is that good. And I don't trust Heineke at quarterback at all. I know that he's kind of been up, down, up, down. You don't know what you're going to get. Well, you know what you're going to get against Buffalo. It's not going to be pretty at all. Plus, you're going to have to win in a shootout. That is not what Washington is built to do at all. I like Buffalo here. I think they roll.
Yeah. On this one, I think that the question you got to ask is what's up with the Washington defense? Do we think that they've taken a major step back or not? I think we're going to find out very quickly in this game. As far as the number goes, I think it's priced appropriately there. I would say that if you think the defense isn't as good as they were in the past, I think it's an interesting spot for a contrarian over. I do think that Washington can move the ball well enough, and they've got enough playmakers on that field that they can put up points against this Buffalo defense. But as of right now, it's a total stay away. I don't have any play on the game, but I'm very interested to see what that Washington defense, especially that front four, how they react and how they get to Josh Allen in this game.
It's interesting you say that about, because the Buffalo defense actually looks like the Washington defense so far. They're playing out of their minds the first 2 weeks. Improved defensive line. We knew that was going to be the case coming into the season with the additions they made, especially in the draft. So I do think that Washington has a little bit of upside with Heineke at quarterback. I don't think they're completely lost. But that Buffalo defense is just playing so well right now that I would lean to the under, to the 45.5 if I'm playing this game. Don't really love the Bills at minus 8.5 covering a big number because that offense just hasn't looked right yet. But under would be the way I go. I think that Buffalo D looks really good.
Let me ask you this, Mikey. Last week we cashed a Washington moneyline, Arizona moneyline parlay, but what about a teaser, bringing the number down to 2.5 and pairing that up with another game that we like on Sunday? Would you do that with this number?
I definitely think it fits the bill. I do think that this Washington team is kind of sneaky. I think if I was going to do it, I would actually correlate it with the same game, though. And then, again, I know I said the contrarian over. I do agree with RJ, though, that the under is the play. I'm calling it contrarian over because I think that Washington does have a little upside, but bringing that number down from 8.5 and then take add 6 points to the total in that one, get that thing under 51.5. I think that is probably the way that I would tease it. If I wanted to do a teaser with the Bills, I would bring it down less than a field goal and bring it to under 51.5.
So many of you watching at home love teasers. So drop a little teaser in our comment section. Let us know what 2 or even 3 teams, I guess you could do, you like in a teaser. Let us know. We want to know what you think, because unlike other shows, we value our fans and their opinions. It's not just our guys that are smart. You're smart too. All right, moving on. Game number 3. Oh, Matty Severance. You had to be a little bit worried when your Bears blew a big lead on Sunday, but they still got the game. Andy Dalton, though, he's still going to start, Matt Nagy says, if he is healthy. All right, the Fighting Andy Daltons. Now, the Browns at home, laying 7, total 46.5. What do you like, Lady Killer?
Well, they just knew that he's Dalton's week to week. Yeah, Nagy had to use the PR guy to tell the reporters in Chicago because he said it was scheme. He wouldn't tell him at first. The guy's just a doofus, man. He just really irritates me. But so it's gonna be Fields. Unfortunately, the 3 rookie quarterbacks in their first start this year they all failed to cover. We're gonna have Mills on Thursday. As RJ mentioned earlier, rookies were 17-5 ATS the previous 2 years in their first start, but the Bears are 0-7 in their past 7 as road dogs with at least 3 points. I'm excited to see Fields, ting, but I don't think they have a chance to win. Although the Browns might be down Beckham and Jarvis Landry, but I'm going to wait till this week gets all 7 in some regard, but I'm probably going to take the Browns, unfortunately.
Can OBJ stop tweeting about what's to come when he has not seen the field since I can't remember when? Just let us know when you are going to play, okay? Stop tweeting, what's to come? What's to come is you're going to be standing on the bench, on the sideline, on the bench like you have been for the last 4 years, doing nothing. All right. Now, our next game, Mikey, you're going to start us on this one. The Ravens. We're still hurting, Mikey. It hurts my heart to watch Andy Reid, who we love, but is one of the worst game clock game managers in NFL history for a top coach. You play for a long field goal, go down and get the score. You got Patrick Mahomes. So the Ravens, they got to be feeling pretty good. They're laying 8.5 on the road. The Fighting Detroit Lions, the total 49.5. This just screams weird to me. What say you?
I'd lean towards the under on this one as well. My only concern would be if the Ravens end up scoring 35 plus points on their own quickly in this game. That would be my only concern. But I do think they're going to take the air out of the ball. Lamar's going to have success running against this team. The running backs are going to have success. They're going to shorten the game as much as they can. That 49.5 should be 47.5 in my opinion. So that's my top play on it. And then it's a good teaser candidate at 8.5. I think that's probably where I would be on it. I do have a slight edge in the numbers here, but I don't know how hungry I think the Ravens will be to really try and run it up when they know they're in control of the game. I think they're going to play conservatively at that point. So the simulations tell me that it should be minus 9.8, really about a point of edge right now. But my biggest play on it would be the under, and then a teaser with the Baltimore team.
I think this is a definite letdown spot for Baltimore. Conquered their KC Demons last week. They have the likely 3-0 Broncos next. They're looking at that schedule, say, well, Broncos started 2-0. They're probably going to get a win this week. Detroit hasn't played as terrible as I expected. They had the lead at halftime somehow in that game yesterday, and then the weather got to Jared Goff. That's not going to be an issue in this game, obviously, at home. Detroit's offense had 6.1 yards per play against Green Bay, just sunk that second half. So it feels like this is more competitive than Baltimore expects. I think they win by 1 score instead of 2. So I'd be leaning to Detroit in this game, just thinking that they're going to take Baltimore a little off guard, as it's going to be a sleepy spot here for the Ravens.
Yeah, let me say, Detroit's offensive line is going to keep them in a lot of games this year. It's a lot better than people think. Jared Goff can throw as well, and we've seen 2 weeks in a row they almost backdoored the Packers last night, right? Like, this team scores dangerous points in the third and fourth quarter. So yeah, I agree with RJ here.
What is the one word that we always hear about successful quarterbacks in the NFL? It's confidence. Have we, and anybody can jump in here, have we ever seen a head coach publicly have more confidence in his quarterback than John Harbaugh with his guy? After they go for 4th and 1 in their own territory, game on the line, and you saw him, you read his mouth, Lamar, do you want to go for it here? I can't remember ever seeing that, at least not in recent memory. He let his quarterback decide if he wanted to go for it. They get it done. They don't give it back to Patrick Mahomes, and they get the job done, and they move to 1-1. Have we ever seen a coach this confident in his quarterback?
Didn't see it in Green Bay with LaFleur there. I know Aaron Rodgers watching the Chiefs-Ravens game, like, come on. He gets this treatment, and he's, 23, 24. How come I can't get this treatment?
He was thinking that. I'd love to see it. I love to see great athletes and their coaches say, here, be great. And that's what Lamar did. He looked fantastic on Monday night. All right, moving on. Colts. Boy, they played pretty good against the Rams, but at home they lose. Carson Wentz, he just cannot catch a break. 2 sprained ankles now. Very, very questionable. But they're going on the road to a Tennessee Titans team that went to Seattle, was down 30-16, and they score 14 points, force overtime, win in overtime, and break Seattle's hearts. Titans are given 5. The total is 48. RJ, let's start with you.
It's hard to know what to do with this game right now until we know something about Wentz. I believe it opened around 3.5. Moved up because, as you said, very, very questionable. I think people are trending to him not playing. If he does play, I expect it to come back down 3.5, maybe 4. If he's ruled out, Eason, I don't have any faith in him starting out here, even against the Titans defense that has been pretty bad. I expect the market to steam that up to 7, probably even over 7. So I'm staying away from this right now until we get some injury news. If you do think he's going to be out, I guess Titans are the play for you there. So I think if Wentz plays, the Colts can keep it close. They were really impressive what they did with the Rams. So I would look to play them at +3 or higher if he's in.
What scares me in regards to, not scares me in regards to the Colts, is that their offense, even when at optimal points, is slow and methodical. It is not fast. The Titans are dying to get their offense going, and I think this is an excellent get-right game for them at home. You look at the Colts, I think they're giving up 147 yards per game on the road. This is a game where Derrick Henry can feast, and if he is, it will open up that offense for Ryan Tannehill to use Julio Jones, to use A.J. Brown. They'll take shots down the field. Anthony Ferguson, the tight end. This is an excellent game for him if you're looking at, some props out there. I think that everything aligns for Tennessee to have the ability to do it, and especially it being a divisional game against a team that the fan base hates more than anyone. Yeah, it lines up perfectly.
If someone's going to mention Anthony Ferguson today, it was -5,000. That was going to be Allan. You would bring up Mr. Nashville for that Anthony Ferguson. I'm going to monitor that now.
Yeah. The one thing I've learned from you guys is that the thing that, whether it's NFL or college, we always try to overanalyze, look at 12 different things. Sometimes the play's right in front of you. That's what I've learned from you guys. And this play looks like it's one of those classic Titans home games. They score 40, they get right, and they blow out a team that's going to probably play a backup quarterback. That's what it looks like to me. That's what it feels like to me.
Coach, I'll say this, and I will let other people jump in. Little Birdie told me that there are going to be a ton of former Oilers at the game this Sunday because the Titans are trying to align both of those, former franchise, new franchise, bring a lot of emotion connection there. Just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, it worked for the Ravens on Monday night. They brought back for the 1,000th time. Ray Lewis went out and did his dance all by himself, and it seemed to work. Real quick, continue to pound that like button. We just went over 100, so we're going to change a life in a matter of moments. As soon as Johnny gives me a name, we're going to have a winner, but keep it coming. Even if you already have a Sportsline sub, we're going to give you an upgraded version if we pick your name out of the proverbial hat. We do have a question from our comments section. Let's go back to RJ because the question is Sam Darnold prop over 1.5 touchdowns Thursday night.
I don't know that I play over 1.5 touchdowns. I think that it's very much a Christian McCaffrey game. I think the defense probably gets on the board with a touchdown. Panthers know they can win this game without having to do too much. So I don't expect there to be a bunch of big shots, letting Houston get back into the game with their defense. So I don't know that Darnold's going to throw it a ton, especially near the goal line where you just want to get those points and get out of there. Because, you kick a couple field goals, throw in a McCaffrey touchdown, you're going to win this game. So, I'm not looking to get aggressive with Darnold props this week.
All right, let's move on. Next game. And this, you talk about get right. Travis Kelce said all the right things. But I think the Chiefs are starting to reach a kind of a fork in the road. Are you going to be that franchise that has one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and you're okay with falling behind and playing from behind and not playing motivated, fun football because you do have that guy, and you rely on that guy all the time? And that's what happened, which is why they lost on Sunday night. They had an 11-point lead. They stopped them twice, and then they end up winning the game. So the Chargers come to town, coming off a heartbreaking loss to Dallas at home. They are 1-1. The Chiefs are 1-1. They're laying 6.5. The total is 55.5. AB, let's start with you.
This game is ugly, and you look at the Chiefs, they are not a team that covers the spread at all, but it has to happen at some point. The problem is I don't know if their offense is scoring too fast too often that it's leaving the defense in a bad spot, or their defense just isn't that good. This is a tough game, a tough number. The Chiefs are going to win, but 6.5, I don't have a great feel either way, to be completely honest with you. I really don't. The Chiefs will score as many points as they want, but they've also shown that they'll give up a ton of points, especially in the second half.
Yeah, they're becoming Texas Tech, which, of course, Patrick played for. Their defense is out there so often that you might be right. Yeah, they're just only 2 covers in their past, 13, I think. So,
yeah. It's so frustrating. Mikey, what do you think the issue is with the Chiefs right now as far as covering the spread?
I mean, I think that they know that they can be competitive in any game against any team in the National Football League, and they rely on that just a little too much. And I think that that's part of the problem. They play way too conservatively at times. It's a thing that Andy's had that trouble with quite a bit in his career, but they need to just go out and be aggressive, follow the math, go put teams away. It's okay to go blow out a team early in the first half, and they oftentimes don't put the foot on the pedal quickly enough, and they just get too conservative. So I think that they're, again, I see it in the comments here, I think it's a team that I'll continue to look to bet them live in game because you're getting a better price almost every single time because of the way that they play in these competitive games. So I'm not going to play this game pregame.
I'm glad you mentioned that because somebody in the comment section was asking about playing the game live, and that's kind of the only way that you can win a spread bet on the Chiefs. Now, we were on the over as well, and that just sailed over. But even that, sometimes they get a big lead, or and they move slow. It's very frustrating because Patrick Mahomes, he knows how good he is, and he knows almost to the minute what he needs to do to either win the game or be close to winning the game. All right, moving on. Got a lot more games to get to. We're about halfway through. We're just crossing the bottom of the hour. A lot of new audience coming in right now. This is Early Edge Live. We do it 6 days a week. Every single day is a different show. This is our Week 3 mega preview. We implore you, please hit the like button. When we get to 200 likes, we'll give away another year-long sub, and I know I haven't given away the first one yet. We're just waiting on Johnny to pick a winner. Okay, Saints, Patriots. Maddie, we're going to come back to you. Now, these are two teams that have looked good one week and looked not so good another week. The Patriots going to be at home, -3 coming off the win over the Jets. Zach Wilson looked awful for New York. The total 41.5. What do you make of this game, Maddie?
I wonder if this is the biggest coach look-ahead game in NFL history. Because if you can convince me that Bill Belichick's not looking ahead to next week with Brady's visit, I won't believe you. I don't care how in tune that guy is. So then I just don't trust Jameis Winston whatsoever. I think week 1 was a fluke. He had those 5 touchdowns, only like 150 yards, and he was awful last week. So again, I won't bet anything on 3 on the number. I'd either do the money line or wait till it to come down. But I would like the Patriots here, even with the Brady Bowl next week.
I think you could look to the under too. Saints were a clear fade last week, especially with all their injuries on the offensive line and defense. But Mac Jones doesn't look interested in going downfield, even when guys are wide open. So in New England, seems like they're going to be an offense that engineers these long time chewing drives. They don't put the ball at risk, knowing that their defense can play well. And Mac Jones is going to make the smart decision most of the time, but they're not going to be too aggressive. So that's going to lead to, I think, longer drives, less points on the board. So I think you can look at under 41.5. If it creeps down any lower than that, you probably want to stay away. You don't want to get past 41, but 41.5 is a decent underplay.
You ever see Bill Belichick when he runs that amoeba defense out there and he has 1 down lineman and 10 people just in the secondary, and it doesn't even look like football? I feel like this is a game where he's going to do things just to mess with Jameis Winston, just to be an attack, just to show him like, buddy, you have no idea what I'm doing over here, and it's going to mess with you. I think RJ's correct. I think this is an excellent underplay. It'll be ugly, and that's exactly what Bill Belichick wants it to be. It'll be ugly.
Do we continue? YouTube comment. Do we continue, RJ, to pound the white over in receptions prop?
I think you could do that. Harris looked pretty good in this game. He didn't have a crucial fumble, so he might see more and more playing time. But Jacoby Myers is solid. Aguilar's been solid, and they have those tight ends. So I mean, it's not a situation like last year where they just don't have pass catchers on the field. They do have other guys they can go to, and maybe if Mac Jones gets a little more comfortable, they start attacking a little bit more. We haven't seen it yet, so I think you can play overs on White until we see that aggression come. But once it does come, it's kind of a bail at that point.
Okay. Next game, we have to do it because we do every single game on the schedule. Falcons. My goodness, how bad. How many teams are down by 3 to the defending Super Bowl champs, and everybody on social media, everybody's like, oh, the Falcons have a shot. Except Tom Brady was like, we're still going to cover. And they scored 21 like that. And they end up winning 48-25 and cover by 10. So the Falcons going on the road again against the G-men, -3 for New York. New York coming off that heartbreaking loss where I don't even think it was an offsides, to be honest with you. But we had the Washington money line, so we were happy with it. The total is 48 in this game. Mikey, let's start with you.
Yeah, I don't love a whole bunch here other than I think that we do see Saquon Barkley unleashed, and we'll see what he is able to do. That's a longer rest period. He was on the short rest against the Washington football team. Now he's got the longer rest. I think that we're going to find out how good he is there. But I think that this one is interesting. I don't have really any edge here. I think you could lean towards the Falcons, but I do not feel great about my ratings there. I'm probably going to have to downgrade that team once again. I just don't feel great about where they're at because after Calvin Ridley, we've talked about it pretty much every week. Like they miss Julio Jones in this offense. And when it's him and Pitts and Hayden Hurst, like I don't trust this Atlanta team at all. So I'm off of it for now and I'm going to watch and see. I'm very interested to see what Saquon Barkley looks like though. If he's going to be healthy at all and ready to go this season, I think this is the spot for him.
All right, very good. Ding, 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 ding. Got to stop the show because we're about to change a life. We've got a winner of a year-long sub to Sportsline at JM Lemieux R. We've got some horrible Twitter handles, but they're not mine, so I do not care. At JM Lemieux R. Welcome to the family. Welcome to Sportsline. You now have, for the next year, access to all of our cappers, 4 of the best right here on the show. All of our simulations, all of our analysis, you get it. Johnny, our incredible producer, will reach out to you and give you all of the details. All right, moving on. Next game, a little AFC North matchup. And this is another one of the which team are we going to get? Now, the Bengals, they win in week 1, overtime over the Minnesota Vikings. They go on the road and lay an egg for about, 55 minutes? Then they scored quick, still lost to the Bears. They travel to Pittsburgh, Steelers. and I want somebody to comment on Big Ben when we talk about it. He looks really old. He looks really slow. He looks like he should have retired at the end of last year. But they did beat the Bills, but they did not look good against the Raiders. -3.5, totals 43.5. RJ, we're back to you.
They beat the Bills. They had months to prepare for that game, and they were healthy going into that game. They are not healthy going into this game, and they've had a few days to prepare for it. Since he could be 2-0 if not for that string of picks. I know that they scored their points late and they weren't behind, but since he's actually played pretty well this year through two games, especially the defense. I mean, that's bad news for a sputtering Pittsburgh offense. That looks really bad right now. So I don't think you can make Pittsburgh more than 3-point favorites versus any non-basement team. Again, you want to make them 4.5. I gave it in as a best bet since the 4.5 is down to 3.5 now. You want to make them 3.5 against the Jaguars, that's fine. You want to make them 3.5 against Houston with Davis Mills, that's fine. Don't make them 3.5 against a competitive team, since he's the way to go on this one.
Anybody else? Are we good?
This is one I'll wait. Yeah, TJ Watt, Devin Bush. Like you said, Big Ben. I mean, this is definitely one I'll be holding off on Friday till that. I see your point to jump ahead now, just in case those guys are out.
It's amazing when one of your favorite quarterbacks of all time, and we had such a great draft class back in 2003, and now Eli's gone, Ryan Leaf, obviously, all those guys, and Big Ben is still around. He's still trying, but when you see how good Tom Brady is, still at that age, to watch Big Ben and how slow, and I don't enjoy watching it, because we used to be, and I'll tell them on another show, but like I hung out with Big Ben a few times. We had a lot of fun a few years ago, and to see where he's at right now, it's just kind of hard, but he's in a good place personally, and that's what's important too. All right, AB, you're on this next game, the Cardinals. How about the way they won their first two games? They scored 38 to beat the Tennessee Titans in week 1. Then last week, in an incredibly exciting 4:00 game, they had to sit there and hold their collective breaths as the field goal goes wide right for Minnesota. Vikings 2 weeks in a row, heartbreak hotel. So, AB, Cardinals going on the road. They're laying 7 and the hook at the Jags. The total's at 52. Talk to me.
So, week after week after week, it's going to get worse for Urban Meyer, and the talk of, is he going to leave? Is he meant to be in the NFL? That's just going to happen. Now, you look at the Arizona Cardinals. M Squared was on this a month and a half ago, and he was absolutely right. Rondale Moore has opened up this offense to be as explosive as it wants to be. The Cardinals' only problem is turning the ball over, right? So if they're against a defense that can force those, you're going to have a tight game. If there's a defense that can't force those, the Cardinals are going to do whatever they want, whenever they want, and they will keep their foot on the gas pedal doing it. The Jaguars have lost 17 straight games. 17. Take the Cardinals here. They're going to roll.
When I saw the over-under for this game was 52, I was like, is that the Cardinals team total? They might get to 52 on their own. Jacksonville's offense was absolutely atrocious in the first game. Second game, they had a great first drive. So, I mean, they're getting better, but, I mean, they were terrible after that first drive. So, maybe they can keep getting better, but, I mean, I think this goes over. I think Cardinals can score 40 on their own. No value laying more than a touchdown for me on the road with a team that just gave up 33 points, just in case the Jaguars finally get it together offensively. So, if you're going to play it, look to play over and hope that Jacksonville's offense keeps improving.
What bizarre world are we in where Cliff Kingsbury's team is that much better than Urban Meyer's team? I mean, I just proves that there's such a difference.
The world where he has Kyler Murray and competent players.
That's exactly right. That is such a great point, though. When you think, if you would have said that line, Maddie, 3-4 years ago, people would have called you crazy. Like, in what world would they even be playing each other? They would have said 3-4 years ago, right? And now that's what we have. That's what we have. And you bring up a good point, too, because Kyler Murray, the interceptions he threw last week, they were bad. They were bad. And that pick six was bad right at the start of the second half. He's got to clean that stuff up. He's dynamic, but he has to clean that stuff up, period. End of story. All right, moving on. Next game, because we have to. Now, there was a lot of people that after Jacksonville jumped on top of Denver and we threw out that number of Teddy Bridgewater, 22-3, now 23-3 on the road, best against the spread of any NFL quarterback ever. Oh, see? And then they end up covering and getting the job done. So the Broncos come home. Who would have thought they'd be sitting in first place in the AFC West? How about that? So the Broncos are laying 10.5 against Zach Wilson and the Jets. The total is 41. Those two numbers, normally they don't go together very well. You know what I mean? Double digit and then a very low total. So, Maddie, we're going to start with you.
As you said, Bridgewater's cover percentage of 73 is the best in NFL history. This is the first time he's ever been a double-digit favorite, though. So keep that in mind. They look great, but again, look at their schedule. I don't have a big lean on this game either way. I mean, the Jets look terrible. There's a prop up. They're now the second favorite to have the worst team or the worst record in the league again this year. Maybe they didn't last year, but someone in the chat room said, "Will any 0-2 team make the playoffs?" I can guarantee you the Jets won't. But honestly, I just think this is going to be one of those unwatchable 30-7 games. But I don't really have a big plan, to be honest with you.
It's so funny. How many times on a Thursday night do you come home from doing something, you turn on, you're like, oh, geez. It's happened a million times. You just hope that you're on the side that's cruising to the victory and not where you've already lost the bet by the middle of the second quarter. All right, moving on. We've got about 5 more to get to. This show goes so fast. We're already 45 minutes in. It's amazing. Keep pounding that like button. We're very, very close to 200. I am prepared to give away 2 more Sportsline subs, but we got to get to 200. You know me by now. I don't just give them away. You've got to earn it. Hit that like button. So here we go. Now, staying in the AFC West, the Raiders back home. They've looked really, really good. They're also 2-0, tied for first place in the AFC West. They win at home against the Ravens. How about that for a win? They go on the road, early start for their bodies. They beat Pittsburgh, and they beat them soundly in Pittsburgh. So now they're laying 3.5. The total's at 45 as they host the Dolphins. Tua knocked out of the game last week. He's got a rib issue. I would think, guys, having had rib issues myself in the past, he ain't playing this week. Probably ain't going to play next week either. So now backup quarterback for the Dolphins. Mikey, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, this one's super interesting to me. The Raiders, I think that I've, been a little lower on them than I should have been so far this season. I think that's been pretty clear. Very much interested to see, what's going on with Derek Carr. I think that that's obviously the most important piece for them. I loved that they finally hit Henry Ruggs on some of these passes downfield in this last game. Mm-hmm. I love that it wasn't just the Darren Waller show. I think that that's going to be incredibly important for this team going forward. Obviously nice that, they didn't seem to miss too much of a beat with Jacobs out. We kind of knew that, but it's nice to really see the confirmation in that one. So if I had to play it, I think I would play the Raiders here at 3.5. I know that the half the hook here does not look attractive, but I think it's very similar to that situation with that RJ talked about with Carolina, where the book is hanging that 7.5 there. I think that it's a very similar situation. I would lay the 3.5 with the Raiders as long as you think Carr's really healthy and ready to go.
Let me ask you something real quick, Mike. Let's assume that Tua gets ruled out. Where does this line move for you? What do you think that the market's going to move this line?
I think it goes to 4.5 to 5.
Yeah, I have a 2-point difference between Tua and Brissett. So, and I actually think it's this line is already a little under where I would have it if everybody was healthy. So I probably see 2.5 or 3 for the Dolphins. I don't give the Raiders 3 points for home field. So I think it's already baked in a little bit that Tua is not going to play here. So I agree. It's not going to move up the full 2 for me. It'll probably be in that 4.5 range.
Now, let me throw this out there because whenever we have M Squared and Maddie on the same show, and this is what I tell people at home all the time, a lot of our cappers have different philosophies. We don't talk to each other. You all do your own thing, and we all bring it to the table. So Mikey normally does not believe in buying half points. Maddie likes the money line and buying the half points. So I want both of you to jump in here on this game. Let's start with Maddie. Would you buy this down to 3? Do you find value there or the money line? Then, Mikey, I want you to take it after him as the contrarian, if you will.
I'd probably take the money line personally, although I think Miami's better with Brissett than with Tua. He's just too brittle. I mean, I think they're going to have Deshaun Watson in a month anyways, but I don't think buying it down to 3 does any good for a push. I know Mike's more into like the prices of things. I think more abstract. I'm either going to win or I'm going to lose. I don't care if it's an extra dime, 15 cents, like that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying there. And it's obviously overreaction spot. The Dolphins are not as bad as what they showed or what the result was of that last game, but it is still a game you have to travel for this one. And it is a quarterback situation that they certainly weren't anticipating on having this part of the season. I think another thing, they're throwing Will Fuller back into the mix. Very interested to see what that looks like. Are they force feeding him targets? Is there any chemistry at all? I think that I would lay it with the Raiders minus 3.5 right now, personally. And then this is one where, I get cute with these at some times. What's most likely to happen is Brissett is likely to struggle at some point if there's no chemistry. This is one where if you really like the Raiders and have the edge that I frankly do right now in the simulations, I would consider an alternate line up to -6.5 and get some good plus money on it.
Hey, real quick, let me ask a question on that one. What happens if it's Jacoby Brissett versus Nathan Peterman?
Interesting. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I got Dolphins -3. Dolphins -3 if it's Brissett and Peterman. If it's 2 in Peterman, Dolphins -5. Peterman is just that bad, that much of a difference. Because Carr's actually played well. So, I mean, I think you got to make Dolphins field goal favorites if it's Brissett and Peterman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the line will flip. The line's going to flip. The Dolphins will be favored if with either quarterback. The Dolphins will be favored if Peterman's the starting quarterback.
Wow. Nate Pete. Worst quarterback in NFL history.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Yeah, he still manages to hang around. All right, we've only got about 10 minutes left in the show. We got 4 games still to get to, guys. So let's jump in to what I think is probably the best game of the week, and that is the Bucks -1 on the road at the Rams. The total a robust 55.5. You got Tom Brady, 9 touchdown passes through 2 weeks. You got Matthew Stafford rejuvenated, playing really good football, and he looks like he's having fun. RJ, what say you?
It's a shame Bucks aren't playing a worse opponent here. We might get to catch Tom in a sleepy spot with that New England trip, coming up. But I don't think he looks ahead in this game. Playing in Los Angeles against the Rams, and the team a lot of people think is a Super Bowl contender. The Rams defense isn't its usual dominant self. Indy got in the Los Angeles Rams territory on 7 of their first 8 drives in that game, and Indy hasn't had a great offense. I mean, they don't have a lot of weapons in the passing game, so that's not great when you're going up against a guy with 9 pass touchdowns through 2 weeks. When you bring that defense in there, but the Rams offense is likely going to be able to score points too. So this is going to be a back and forth game, a lot of points. Who has the ball last at the end? And I think in that situation, you trust Brady more. So I would lean to the Bucks here. I think you should have got it a little bit earlier. When they were +1.5 for their pick 'em. I might come back to pick them, but if you can only get one and that's all it's available from here on out, I wouldn't mind taking the Bucks.
You want to know something that Sean McVay is the worst in the NFL at? And I guarantee nobody's talking about this stat. I don't even know if people even know it. Since 2019, Sean McVay and the Rams have had 9 opportunities to win 3 games in a row. He's done it once. He's 1-8 straight up and against the spread when they've won 2 games in a row. Go back and look. It is literally 2 wins, lost, 2 wins, lost, 2 wins, lost. Now, I'm not saying that that's everything that's going to happen in this game, but there's enough historicals there that they don't win 3 games in a row. And if you give me Tom Brady, I think he gets it done.
Where do you find these numbers at? Amazing.
Well, it's not a primetime game, so that's good for Brady.
I'll chime in on it just because I have the pick on it. I played the Buccaneers here. I usually get excited when it's a decent team, especially if it's a team that has any public interest. When you're fading or you get to go play in Los Angeles, the home field advantage simply just does not exist in Los Angeles here. And that's something that is discounted, especially early in the season here as well, especially when all we've really kind of heard, like home field advantage might be back now because fans are back. I think that that's working in our favor here. And then it's Tom Brady. He's healthy. The team is healthy. I think it's a great spot for them. And then I have some major concerns about this Rams defense, a lot like the Washington football team defense. I think that they're not quite as elite as what we think they have been, as evident by the Colts really moving the ball. Yes, they kept them from scoring. The Colts kept themselves from scoring from inside the 5 on 3 drives. However, they're moving the ball on him. Andy Dalton moved the ball on him, threw a pick in the end zone there. And then make matters worse, Henderson's beat up for them. They're going to force Sonny Michel in there against a very tough team to run on. They might have to abandon it completely, which makes them a little more one-dimensional. I think the Bucs win this game.
Michael Pittman getting 120 something yards. I mean, and that's they don't have any other weapons in that offense in the passing game. So what are you going to do when you have to go up against red zone Gronk here and all the other guys, and Brown and Godwin and Evans? It's just too much to cover with a defense that was depleted in this offseason.
By the way, in our NFL Futures episodes, we did 8 of them. RJ was a part of all 8. We never looked at Gronk's number to lead the NFL in touchdown catches. He's got 4 already through the first 2 weeks. I bet that number was ridiculously high, and he may not do it, but I'm saying he's off to an unbelievable start with 4. And I think Brady's going to keep feeding him. That could be, if somebody was smart enough to get that, they're going to be very, very rich at the end of the season. All right, we've got 3 games left to get to. And this one also has a fascinating storyline here. The Seahawks had the game won. They were dominating the Titans. They scored 30 and could not score another point. They lose the Titans in overtime at home. They go on the road laying 2 to Minnesota. The Vikings, 2 weeks in a row. First week, overtime they lose. Second week, they've got the ball kicking for the win, down 1, and they miss it wide right, 0-2 for Minnesota. Now, the total also sitting the same as the Bucs and the Rams, 55.5. AB, where do you see this one?
Look, you got 2 teams that are going to go in the opposite directions here. The Seattle Seahawks, a game that they should have won. They lost, obviously, against the Titans. I think that they bounced back nicely. And the Minnesota Vikings, I am just waiting for when this team implodes internally, and I think it's coming pretty soon. They're putting up yardage. They're putting up points, but it is just not working out. We've seen ever since training camp with the entire COVID situation and all that, Mike Zimmer literally screaming at the team. I think that there are issues here, and I think the Seahawks are going to jump all over it. Pete Carroll, in his tenure with the Seahawks, they rarely lose games in September. He's definitely not losing 2 in a row. Give me the Seahawks on the road.
Seahawks always an excellent play after a loss. NFL's best cover rate since 2016, coming off a loss, just short of 70%. Minnesota's D hasn't been good. Minnesota's offense might not have Cook. He got dinged up a couple times, had to come out of the game. Minnesota coming off back-to-back gut punch losses, like you mentioned earlier. Last second missed field goal. I don't know where they are mentally. I'm not sure how the defense slows down Seattle's offense, but I could see a bounce back game from Seattle's defense. So I had this as a best bet, and I just think it all sets up a lot better for Seattle here.
Yep. I'm on Seattle as well. And like I said, we're all right. We all know it's an absolute must win for this Vikings team. And it's maybe one of the worst must win matchups they could possibly have, especially because it's at home. And if they don't win it, yeah, it's the team's totally off the rails if they don't win this game. And I don't think they're going to get it done. Seattle is a very good team. And despite losing that game, I think that I'm still even frankly a little low on them. I think a lot of people are a little lower on them than they should be. I think they're an excellent team.
Interesting. All right, 2 games left and 5 minutes left in the show. Now, this next matchup, Sunday Night Football, there's one word that I think of when I see Packers and 49ers. And it's the same word that somebody yelled at me yesterday in Chicago when I was in my suit, nice shirt, and little pocket square, and that is sexy. Very, very sexy. So, here's the number. 49ers laying 3.5. The total is 49.5. You've got the 49ers who are 2-0. They got it done looking great against Detroit. Then yesterday, very ugly, 17-11. But guess what? In the NFL, style points do not matter. It's all about the W, baby. So 2-0 against a Packers team who, as we know, against the Saints scored 3. Then last night, it was all about Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones. Maddie, talk to me.
Yeah, Green Bay's, that was his 8th straight primetime win. We all know from week 1, the 49ers are terrible of late as favorites. So I tend to lean with M squared. I think that's the first time I've called him that. And RJ, given the 3.5. But, I want to wait and see if the Niners even have a running back who they might sign off the street. And obviously, we don't know who got hurt for Green Bay on Monday night yet. But I'm definitely with those guys. I'm leaning taking the 3.5 in the early going so far.
Yeah, I moved the Packers down a point in my power ratings. The D doesn't look great. The offensive line has issues. I moved San Francisco's power rating up 1 point, although their offense wasn't great against Philly. I still couldn't get this line to 49ers 3.5. So that's why I see value with Green Bay. Even if you give them those 2 adjustments, I don't think this is a 3.5 game. Aaron Rodgers has an 18-2 touchdown interception ratio in 8 games against San Francisco, the team that snubbed him in the draft. He always shows up to play these games. So even though I worry that the Packers O-line is going to have trouble with the San Francisco pass rush, Rodgers shouldn't be catching this many points. That's why I had Packers as the best bet.
Yep. Could not agree more. I think there's also some narratives you want to play along with, and there's one quarterback right now that you want to play those with. I think it's Aaron Rodgers. He's from the area in California here. He went to Cali, obviously wanted to be a 49er more than once in his career. Even this last offseason, that was the top of his wish list, was to be traded to that team. So I really think that I love the narrative. And then I wrote it up on Sportsline. You probably push notification if you haven't turned on. I make the Packers team almost a full point better on a neutral site. Obviously, no one else is really making them that way, but home field advantage. You can say it's worth a little, say it's worth a lot. It's certainly not worth 4 points in this spot. So I think that this game should and probably will end up coming down under that. I think it's going to see a full point of movement to 2.5. I think some sharp people are sitting there waiting, hanging out, seeing. I don't think we're ever going to see 4, but if we do, it's going to get hit incredibly hard at 4. And I think the Packers are the right side in this one.
Beep, 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 beep. Back it up. We got a YouTube comment. AB, somebody's taking you to task, my friend. Let's put it up there, Johnny. My man Tim in the YouTube comment says this ridiculous take by AB. If the Vikings make a chip shot field goal, they would be 1-1, same as Seattle. Defend yourself, AB.
Yeah, if Kevin Dyson got one more yard in the Super Bowl against the Rams, the Titans would have won it. I mean, who cares, right? Like, you win a game. If the Giants didn't jump off sides, they would have beat Washington, right? Like, I get it. I get what he's saying. I'm not disagreeing with that. Like, Minnesota is a decent team. All I'm saying is that I just don't trust this locker room. I really think that it's going to continue to go negative, and I don't think that they have the leadership in there to build themselves back up if it goes bad. And if Seattle jumps all over them, I mean, good luck, man. Like, it's a brutal spot. I think M Squared said it best. This is in a must-win game, this is the absolute worst team that you could be going up against.
AB, you just pulled what I've always liked to call a Stephen A. Smith. I love me some Tim, but he's wrong. I've got no issues. He's a great, great fan, but he's wrong. Stephen A. always does that. I love me some RJ White, but he doesn't always, oh, man, he always does that. Doesn't want anybody to dislike him, and then he'll go in for the jugular. I love it. All right. M Square is going to bring us home on the final game of the week, the NFC East. Now, apparently they are still rated in some parts as the worst division in football. The Eagles, week 1 looked great, 32-6 over the Falcons. Week 2, they lose to the 49ers. Cowboys looked really good in week 1 against the Bucs, losing late on a field goal. Then really a grinded out defense looking solid. Dak hitting the shots when he needed to, and a last-second classic playing for that 56-yard game-winning field goal late. What? But they hit it 20-17. Mikey, how do you see this one?
I actually have a small edge on it. I think this number should be closer to 5. I think we might see it go to 4.5. I like the Cowboys here. I was actually very impressed with, obviously, we know the offensive line is good, but they were able to move the ball and run the ball pretty well in that game against the Chargers here. So I'm very interested to watch this one. We know these division games get tight, get competitive. What I would say here is if you like the Eagles, I think that I would lean towards the over in this one, because I think if the Eagles have a lot of success in this, it's going to turn into an absolute shootout where we do see Dak having to throw the ball a lot, which frankly is a good thing for this team. So I have this one here. I think it should be 4.5 is the most appropriate number, but I think that total should be closer to 53.
Yeah. Philadelphia's D lost Brandon Graham. That's a problem. And I'm not sure Philly's offense does enough to get this over. So I would lean to the under. I think it's going to inflate. Being a primetime game, people are going to be on that over. I would lean to the under and wait for it. Hurts was just 12 of 23 last week and had about half his yards on one big play. It wasn't a great performance by him. And Dallas D's been better than expected. We expected a shootout this past week. Didn't get it from them. So the defense is actually showing up. Parsons doing some things, even if he's not great in coverage. He's getting after the quarterback. And, even if Jalen Hurts runs around here, I don't know that they have the capability of beating an improved Dallas defense. So I do agree that Dallas is probably the way to look, but I think under is probably going to be the play, especially after it inflates because it's a primetime game.
Through 8 divisional games this year that we've seen in the NFL, you know what the average point difference is between the winner and the loser? What? 16 points. 16. I know that there's a 35-0 blowout between Buffalo and Miami, but look at the Packers-Lions. These games have not been tight, right? So if you like the Cowboys, they probably win by double digits. Just play that. Just play that. Just take a look.
Okay. Very good. Before we get to our final takes, we go around the horn. See, that was 2 different ESPN shows I did right there. RJ, can't miss reading for the hardcore better. Where do they find your power rankings?
Go to SportsSign. I power rate every single team and give them a point total against the spread. You know how much better or worse they are. You can build your spreads off of that. It was really essential for finding some value in the first couple of weeks. Lines are sharpening up now, so I got to take a closer look at my ratings when I see a big discrepancy like I do with this Chiefs-Chargers game, and I'm not immediately jumping on the Chiefs because I have such a high total. But you can read all about that, the places I find value, all over at sportsline.com.
All right, but you got to be a member of Sportsline. It's the best value in all of sports. Come on. You got to be a member. All right, time for our final take. M Squared, we'll have you go first.
Yeah, I just think it's a real. RJ's mentioned it multiple times. This is where things start to really tighten up after those two. The first week, the big overreaction week. I think that there's some good matchups. So I think we gave you a lot of great content, and I really the position I'm on. I can't say that I would ever be upset by sharing a couple games with RJ as well. I think it's really nice when some of our ratings line up. So I think it's gonna be a good week.
All right, Lady Killer, what do you got?
Speaking of Stephen A. Smith, I want the Bucs to lose just so he doesn't talk about 17-0 on Monday morning. I don't want to hear it. Just get it over with. There's never ever going to happen. So just please lose to the Rams. That's all I ask.
AB.
There are some massive point spreads out there this week. Be careful.
RJ.
Quarterback injuries are what we're looking at this week. You know, a lot coming out of last game last week. Last week was a brutal week for quarterbacks and frankly a lot of positions. Quarterbacks on defense like TJ Watt. So we're going to see some wonky lines this week when quarterbacks get ruled out. If they do, it doesn't mean anything about teams long term. You want to be looking to play Houston back when Tyrod's back on the field, whenever that is, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. If they're still trying to compete and throw a competitive game out there, Tyrod gets back in. You're going to have some value on teams like the Texans. So watch how they perform. Watch these teams without quarterbacks. Throwing the backups in, how they perform as a roster, kind of see how the coach is coaching them up, and if they're really kind of engaged, or if they're checking out on the season, because that really determines what you do with these teams long term.
The best information in all of sports betting is right here at Sportsline. It's my guys, it's my ladies, it's everybody. We work as a team. I said it last night on CBS Sports HQ. We roll 8-10 deep, and we're like in one of those movies where we're all walking together down the street, and you don't want to mess with any of us. Boom. All right, don't forget, tomorrow, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. AB, who do you got on with you tomorrow?
Yep, tomorrow we're going to have Chip Patterson and Micah Roberts. They're going to be breaking games down, and their against the spread record is getting better by the week. So make sure tune into that show. Those guys have been throwing out winners all over the board.
I love it. The College Football Mega Preview, 3 p.m. Eastern time, right here at our YouTube channel. Subscribe, turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our shows or any of our content. All right, Johnny, let's throw that full screen up one more time to let the good people at home know who my guys are on this week here on this beautiful Tuesday, if we could. And quickly, there is RJ, Panthers, Bengals, Packers, Seahawks. AB's on the Titans and the Browns. Maddie's on the Titans and the Panthers. Texans under. That game is Thursday night, by the way. And then M Squared, Packers, Seahawks, and the Bucks. And I thought you had one more. Did you? No, just those three.
No, just those three for now. Yep.
Okay. All right. We'll see you tomorrow morning on the Early Edge Morning Show, and then college football in the afternoon. There's only one thing left to do. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these early NFL tickets straight to the pay window. For my man RJ White, for AB, for Maddie, for M Squared, and also Johnny, our incredible producer, puts it all together. I am the coach. Remember, tell your friends, there's only one daily sports betting show of record. We like to call it the Early Edge. Good luck. Do you want best bets in your feed every single day? All you have to do is hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Early Edge.